our spring game coming up
This weekend.
Georgia Tech's coming up in 2 weekends from now.
Okay.
So I thought it would be fun to have somebody on the program that cares about Georgia Tech football.
How hard did you have to look for somebody?
It was tough, man. High, low, deep, wide. But I finally found an old buddy of mine who semi-pays attention to this sort of thing. He's a guy from back home that ended up at Georgia Tech, God bless his soul. Very smart guy, very intelligent guy, one of my good friends, and unfortunately for him, a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket fan. My favorite aspiring heck of an engineer, Mr. Zach Durrence. Zach, how are you, sir?
Oh, good morning, James. I'm doing all right.
Good to hear your voice. So tell me, just very briefly, before we get into the sports aspect of things here, how are things in the largest state penitentiary in Georgia?
Just in general, or?
Yeah, like I guess academically. You were telling me you were doing some thermo before we started talking.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, thermodynamics. The dynamics of thermo moving around and whatnot.
What is thermo?
Yeah, so right now,
sounds like a thermos.
Overall, campus-wide, everyone's pretty depressed, you know. We got a pretty bad week of just few weeks coming here before finals. This is like the last round of tests before finals, so I've been super busy.
Do you guys have like about a month, 3 weeks left before finals, something like that?
You know, I'm not real sure.
You're just taking it one day at a time.
I got to make it through Wednesday first, and then I'll be all right.
Well, hang in there, buddy. So let's start off with your squad. Georgia Tech spring practice not quite as far along as UGA's is, but what's kind of the vibe that you're getting on campus about the team this year? I know that last year wasn't so hot. 3-9.
It's an understatement.
And I actually and want to thank you publicly for this. Got to go to the Georgia Tech game with you in November. That was a lot of fun. But once again, it was not a bright spot for the Georgia Tech football team. So what's the vibe you're getting going into spring practice this year for you guys?
Well, I mentioned earlier how students are kind of really busy, and also we have this really big problem on campus of Tech students not really caring about football.
See, it was tough to find somebody that could talk about this with us.
We have a lot of students from overseas who never really grew up watching the sport, and so not near as big a push. But so no one's really mentioned anything about spring practice. I didn't really realize it was going on until recently. But I looked over the roster this morning, and I recognized about 3 names coming back. So, and I wasn't super excited about those names.
Well, I mean,
as we speak,
that could be a good sign, though, because the names you had last year didn't really do much for you anyway.
Yeah, we graduated a lot of our backfield and receiving core, I feel like. So our quarterback's coming back. Could be a good thing, could be a terrible thing. We have one or two. We have a B-back coming back, our fullback. The freshman that did a pretty good job last year.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that,
that's Marshall, right? Is one of those guys.
Yeah, Marcus Marshall.
Yeah,
my sister actually had a class with him. They were pretty good friends.
Okay, cool. That's he's brothers with Keith Marshall, who just left UGA for the NFL.
Right.
Yeah, so that was kind of a fun sibling rivalry thing last year. I don't think Keith got to play any, poor guy. Maybe a couple reps, but he didn't. Matt, he didn't really get hardly any reps last year.
No, not really. Last year was a bit of a low year for Keith Marshall, or really every single year has been a low year for Keith.
But here's what I don't get.
Because he got hurt. Yeah.
Here's what I don't get, and this is a quick digression. Keith Marshall did incredibly well at the NFL Combine. We keep having that problem where guys kind of do okay here and then go to the NFL Combine and like blow away everybody's expectations. And you're like, where was that?
Yeah,
when you were with us?
Probably had something to do with the coaching staff here. And I will say to Kirby Smart's credit, he's come in like a freaking tornado and has really shaken things up here. And not all changes have been good. This public records thing, I don't want to get too much into it right now, but the public records thing has been pretty scary.
Yeah, I would agree. But speaking of Kirby Smart, Zach, from a Georgia Tech fan's perspective, and we can just talk about you personally, does the coaching change at UGA, Mark Richt leaving, Kirby Smart coming in, does that scare you as a Tech fan, or do you think this might be an opportunity for Paul Johnson to kind of maybe do a little better against Georgia in the wake of this transition? What do you think?
I mean, right now it's a toss-up. One thing that UGA has that Georgia Tech will never have while we're in our current system is they have the ability to say, 5-star recruits, come here. Look at all we have to offer you. Whereas Georgia Tech says, we can give you hard classes, no females, and a social life of 0. Please come play football for us.
I'm sold.
and then we're gonna make you run an offense that's not gonna get you into the NFL. So
sounds like a program I want to play for.
How did they win 3 games last year?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I mean, last year was surprising to me because after the 2014 season, you thought Tech was, all right, they're ready to take the step forward. They beat Georgia here
right,
in
and let's just say that real quick. I mean, major props to Paul Johnson for having the amount of success he's had, especially against the odds that you just listed, Zach.
But, so go ahead.
I mean, he can run a much better team if he could just get better recruits. His recruiting is just not successful. And like I said, he's fighting an uphill battle. But so that being said, Georgia's going to have some athletes that Tech's not going to have.
Sure.
And so they're starting off a leg up. So it just depends on how the coach comes in, how he presents himself. I mean, it could be something as easy as, hey, I'm going to show up, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to blow everyone out. Or I'm going to show up and no one's going to know what's going on, and everything falls apart for a few years.
Yeah, so far it feels like nobody knows what's going on. But yeah, even with Georgia's leg up, it doesn't feel that way. Like traditionally it's felt like Georgia was going to win the Georgia Tech game. Georgia Tech would be kind of annoying and they'd hang around a little bit, but you just kind of had the feeling that Georgia was going to pull it out. But I mean, these past few years, that's not been the case. Georgia Tech, wins in Athens, and then last year almost wins that game. And going forward, even into this season, you don't really get the feeling that Georgia has that leg up. To me, I mean, tell me if you think otherwise, James. But for me, it feels like the Georgia team has been underperforming, and you really can't write anything in as an easy win anymore because they struggled against Georgia Southern, for crying out loud. So
well, and that's an understatement. I mean, they barely escaped by the skin of their teeth against Georgia Southern. So I mean, I think Zach's right. I think Georgia is pretty much always going to have more raw potential.
They just underperform. And that's, one of the reasons why Mark Richt is no longer on the payroll here in Athens.
I will say this, too. Not just Georgia underperforming, but that's also a big game.
Sure.
I've watched Tech overperform many times. Just a big rivalry happens. Emotions are up in the air. Anything can happen on a game day.
Absolutely. JM in the AM here on WUOG. James Thompson and Matt Metaxas with you, and also a special guest, Georgia Tech student and my good friend, Mr. Zachary Durrence, giving us a little perspective on the Georgia and Georgia Tech spring practices and season outlooks for this year.
What is game day like in Atlanta?
Any game or this game specifically? Or?
Just
in general.
Both, yeah. Any game, and then what's it like on the day that last weekend in November?
So it starts off depending on game time. Lately, we've had a lot more noon games due to
we've had our fair share as well.
Yeah, not as many night games in the last few years. But usually, so our campus is really small since it's in downtown Atlanta. So all of the Greek organizations are pretty much right down the road from the football stadium, super close. And the whole campus is really close to the football stadium. So you have a lot of tailgating going on right all around that, a lot of music playing. Everyone's kind of packed in there. And it's pretty exciting. You wake up in the morning. Sometimes I used to live right down the road from the stadium, so sometimes I'd wake up about 11:30 for a 12 o'clock game, walk there just in time. And, but yeah, I mean, you just got a lot of people, a lot of families coming out just to have a good time, play some football. We never have a large stadium, but we never pack it. I've never understood why people don't want a cheap ticket to a football game when you live in Atlanta.
And then what's it like on the rivalry game weekend?
So rivalry game weekend, it's like that, but about twice as many people.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's like always a lot bigger stadium, always a lot closer to full on rivalry weekend, whether it be because UGA actually brings fans or because a few more Tech fans show up.
Probably a combination of both. Now, Zach, do you get the feeling that Paul Johnson's job is in any trouble right now? Does he have to reach some sort of standard this year to avoid getting kicked to the curb, or is he pretty stable, you think?
Well, this is what happened with my boy PJ. So this past year, or the year we did really well, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, that was the year his contract ended. So
Good
when
timing.
that happened, they decided to sign him for like a ridiculous amount of money for 5 more years.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can expect for Georgia Tech is about 3 more years of disappointment, and then right when his contract's about to run out, we're going to have a great season.
It's cyclical.
Yeah, that's a good strategy on his part.
Hey, self-preservation, you got to have it.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, so and on our end, like Matt was saying, I really don't have a good sense of whether Kirby Smart's going to be what the UGA program needs or not. But, a little closer to home here, he has requested, called for a full stadium for our spring game this Saturday. And Zach,
93,000 people
Exactly.
to watch a spring scrimmage.
I'm kind of skeptical that he's going to be able to accomplish that. Mr. Durrence, you also sound skeptical.
Well, you can always count him to play it smart, but I don't think this one's going to happen.
Nice job.
Well done, sir.
That's the Georgia Tech in him.
It must be the Scriven County in him, because I make puns like that all the time too. Let's see.
Oh, and you're from the 912, Zach?
Yeah, we're from the same hometown.
Nice.
That's how.
Awesome.
Yeah, Matt Metaxas is from Savannah, Zach.
This
by the
is
way.
the 912 show.
We're all
today.
from 912. Yeah. But yeah, so I kind of doubt that will happen. Matt, so there's supposed to be a concert before the game.
Yeah.
Has that been announced yet?
Morgan,
do you know?
I have not seen it be announced yet.
So
and it'll probably be some country singer. I don't know. I'm not really interested in any of these Brad Paisley, Luke Bryan types that they get on here. So no. Fetty Wap is the spring. Like that's the spring thing.
That's a different concert.
Different
right?
concert. Yeah. There's no way they're having Fetty Wap like before. No, they'll have some family friendly country.
Wait, y'all are getting Fetty Wap though?
Oh yeah, we're getting Fetty Wap
Wow.
at the end of this month.
Yeah, funny story. So, as some of you may know, I'm a resident assistant in university housing here.
Nobody knows that.
Well, now Zach does.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was walking into the library the other day.
Of course.
Yeah, and I saw one of my residents, and I was like super excited. I was like, dude, look at you being all studious and stuff in the library. This is great. Way to go, man. And he was like, actually, I just ran in here to buy a Fetty Wap ticket.
Yeah.
So I was kind of, my excitement quickly dissipated.
No, I'm excited for him. That's a smart young man.
Yeah. Well, and apparently
I
they
want to
sold.
go see Fetty Wap.
Hey, come on, buddy.
I think non-UJ student tickets go on sale this morning after 10 a.m. So pick you one up. We can send you the link.
There you go. Now, Zach, we were talking about our spring game. You guys have your spring game the next weekend. Are you planning on attending that?
Like I said, I'm just trying to make it through Wednesday.
So I get the feeling that
That'll be another thing he just wakes up and kind of stumbles into.
possibly. Well, it'll be a noon game, I saw.
Yeah.
So he could wake up at 11:30, go watch a little football, and then go on about his day. But, I mean, have you been to one of those before?
I don't think I have. Last spring I was co-oping in another state.
Right.
And the spring before that I think I was busy or it was raining or both.
Right. But I get the sense, like, there's a lot of hype around Athens about the spring game. I get the idea that's probably not as much the case on Tech's campus.
No. We have finals, man.
Well, we have finals too.
Yeah, don't
we
give me that.
we take tests here.
Like occasionally.
Yeah, like once a month.
Yeah, and you get your sticker afterwards.
Okay.
Whoa, all right.
Dang. Let me duck out of the way of that shade. Man, all the way from Atlanta. Yeah, so fair enough. And Zach, what kind of engineering are you working on right now? What's your degree?
Mechanical engineering is what they tell me.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And you were talking about doing a co-op. Kind of give us a little context on that. I know what you're talking about, but a lot of our listeners might not.
Yeah, so a lot of engineering students partner with different companies all over, and every other semester you'll go work for them and try to learn a little bit about what you're going to do in the long term, and then come back to school afterwards. And it's just a little bit of a way to help finance your college and also get good experience that you need to get a job.
And so what did you learn in your co-op? What was your big takeaway?
I learned exactly what I don't want to do.
That's a good thing to learn.
It's a good thing to learn.
Does Georgia Tech have any we'll ask you one more question here. Does Georgia Tech have any weird game day traditions? Like we have the Spike Squad people here where they paint up and dress like all sorts of things. Captain Jack Sparrow and Tonto from the Lone Ranger. Does Georgia Tech have anything crazy like that?
We have the Gold Fellas who always paint their chest and try to make the most inappropriate things they can, so they don't get on TV anymore. Because
what's an example? Well, tell us a PC version of one example you've seen.
I mean,
if there's not a PC
version,
yeah, if there's if there's not a PC version, don't worry about it. But
there's of those. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't pay attention. I just laugh at them, and then and then another one. One of my favorites is the Budweiser song.
Oh,
I think James actually enjoyed that.
I did. I experienced that.
What is that?
So at the beginning of the fourth quarter, every year we play the Budweiser song, which started a while back, and we all bounce up and down to the song, and at the end we say "Go Georgia Tech" three times, and then chant when you say Budweiser, you've said it all. And then it was an old Budweiser advertising song, and that's what it became. It's our fourth quarter rally song.
Yeah, that was the most exciting part of that football game was the Budweiser song.
Man,
yeah, it was pretty great. Yeah, so like I said, Zach and I went to the game this past year, the Georgia Tech game, and my boy got me into the student section, which was a fun experience.
Can't do that here. It's a pain in the butt to do it here, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to be super sneaky. They're pretty tight about getting into the student section for sure. But so I got in, and going along with pretty much everything Zach has said so far, like 10 minutes before the game, the student section was maybe half full.
Did people give you any crap?
I got a few like weird looks, but we went with the campus ministry that Zach goes to over there, so I was kind of surrounded by people that knew why I was there. So I had a little buffer. Zach, I mean, do you think if we had just been in the middle of strangers that I would have had any more trouble, or do you think everybody would have been pretty chill about it?
There's a few fraternities you could have sat next to that may not have been too nice to you.
Yeah. I feel like if you were to have come like the year before to the Georgia Tech game here in Athens, it would have been much tougher. Yeah, if you had been able to get into the student section.
Oh yeah, that would not have been a good idea.
Probably not. Yeah, you might have needed to go undercover.
That seems like a great idea to me.
The frat bros here are just as bad as the regular bros. So the Budweiser makes them all the same. It's a great equalizer.
Yeah, they don't sing about it here. They just consume it.
Yeah, we're too busy drinking to be singing.
So Zach, any last thoughts for us on Georgia Tech's outlook for this year, or Georgia's, or thermodynamics, or just life in general?
Well, I don't know how much you guys know about Atlanta sports over in Athens, but 3 major Atlanta sports teams you can always count on to get your hopes up and then rip the rug out from under you and knock you down are the Braves, the Falcons, and Georgia Tech football.
Well, the Braves are 0-5. They're not getting your hopes up right now.
No, well, but Zach is absolutely right. They did, because I actually got to go to opening day last Monday, and we were up by, I don't remember the score exactly, but the Braves had the advantage, and then we had an opportunity to win. There was a play at the plate. A.J. Przinsky caught the ball, was going to tag the guy out. He loses the ball. He's safe. We go into extra innings. We make an error, and we lose after having the game won like twice. So, Zach, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what happens every single time.
And then I guess my second thing would be is I'm not sure Paul Johnson actually has a strategy. I think he may just randomly pick plays and then tell them to run it.
Yeah.
So you can never count on him to do anything good or bad. So you never know what's going to happen when he's out there coaching.
That's
we
kind
could
of
have
exciting.
a fantastic season out of nowhere.
Well, it'll be interesting to see whether he picks the right random plays this year. I'm excited to see how this all works out.
The other thing he likes to do is run a play 8 times in a row to the short side of the field.
Well, all your plays look the same.
I mean, to me, pretty much, yeah. It's you change the direction a time or two, and then you might pitch it or something, but it's pretty much the same idea. I mean, I would say that's
Probably.
accurate, don't you think, Zach? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just have multiple options.
Well, you have three of them.
To be exact.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Well, Zach, look, thanks for calling in, buddy. Good to talk to you, and we'll do it again. We're going to make you our official Georgia Tech correspondent on this program.
That was good.
So you have to go
Thanks,
to
buddy.
the spring game.
Yeah, you have to go to the spring game now. You're our reporter.
Good luck with your thermo test, man.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks, Zach. Take care. Well,
That was fun.
that was fun, and I feel so sorry for my boy now.
Yeah. I want to see this Budweiser song.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. It was kind of a, and he explained this to me before the game. He was like, "Look, none of the Tech people here really expect us to win.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have a good time."
Hey, that's the way to do it.
And it was a good time. And then of course, going along once again with what he was saying about Atlanta sports, Tech only lost by like a touchdown. So at the very end there, they were driving. It was close. I mean, they, made everybody pay attention.
Oh, I was sweating. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.